Hi, freaks, and welcome to another episode. My name is Matt, and joining me tonight is the lovely Nathan. How are we, Nathan?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you very much. And also joining us in the middle there, is it a thorn between two roses? Or no, a rose between two thorns? I don't know. It's Sue. Hi, Sue. How's it going?
Yeah, everything's fine. I've had a pretty good week. Can't complain.
That's good.
COVID
All
time.
matchy in blue today.
Yes, I fully embraced it, and I forgot I had this top. I bought this top when I went to America, and they lost my luggage, and it was like 1 a.m, and I had to find something to sleep in. So this was what I found at a chemist,
Oh,
and then now I have this T-shirt.
the CVS. Was it CVS?
Yeah,
That was cool.
that was like the only place. But underwear and socks and tops and stuff from a chemist.
Not
Not
good.
the high fashion that you want, really.
No.
Yeah, you've kept it.
I'm still wearing
The top was like
it.
I mean, the underwear, that went right away. Like, I am not a granny yet. I don't want to embrace that side of me yet.
Good.
And then we got our coffee tonight, Sue, and your famous coffee mugs.
We do.
Oh, we've got another one.
Yes, I run on caffeine, cats, and cuss words. It's appropriate.
Oh,
It is appropriate.
three C's.
Uh-huh.
And Nathan, what are you drinking tonight?
Vodka tonic tonight.
A vodka tonic.
Very
A
refreshing.
skinny bitch.
Vodka?
I know vodka is a vodka soda is a skinny bitch, isn't it?
Yeah, no, I don't like soda water, so.
Oh, really? Is that what it's called?
Yeah, because skinny bitch. That's how you get skinny, Sue. Vodka sodas.
Well, yeah, that was what I used to drink, vodka soda, but I'd add some lime cordial, so probably not so skinny.
No, that doesn't make you a skinny bitch. You've got to have fresh lime
I'll just
for a skinny bitch.
Yeah,
Just let me pour some sugar in here.
right.
Speaking of sugar, I've got a
And what's that?
Negroni.
Nice.
Ooh.
The ice has melted. It was quite a large Negroni, but it's now a respectable size, so that's good.
Mm.
So
I might have a Bloody Mary later.
You might have a what?
I'm a Bloody Mary later. You're making me want something sort of citrusy, and I like them.
Mhm.
So should we get into it?
Mhm.
Let's do
Let's do
this. Okay, so it's the first week of our Shark box set. So this is under because I'm not sure if people on the other side of the world realize, but we're currently in the middle of summer here in Australia, and hasn't been too bad actually. It's been quite mild this year. So we thought we'd do a summer box set. It's a double box set this week. This first box set is sharks, and after that we're going to be doing some beachy themed films. So tonight we're looking at Great White, and then on the 17th of February we're going looking at Open Water, and on the 3rd of March we're looking at the granddaddy of all shark films. It's Steven Spielberg's Jaws. So make sure you join along with us and watch the films before those dates, because what will we be doing, Nathan?
We'll spoil them and ruin it for you.
That's right. Lots of spoilers. So if you haven't seen Great White, then probably best that you pause and come back later on.
Mm-hmm.
So Great White, it's an Australian film, initially released last year, or not even a year ago, 16th of July, 2021. I keep thinking that this year's 2021 still, but no. Directed by Martin Wilson, with a box office of $635,000.
I thought you get $635. In the cinema here. Where was it in the cinema?
Did you say that was the box office? That was the box office.
That
not
was the
budget.
box office. I think, to be fair though, I think it was released in like Mexico or something, and then most other places it was released on streaming. So here in Australia, it was released on Amazon Prime. That's where I watched it. I'm sure that's where you guys watched it as well.
Yeah, I hadn't ever heard of the movie before. So when I saw it, I was actually reading through the credits at the end because I thought it might have been made for Prime, but I don't think it was.
I think it went to the cinema in America, like a few places in America.
Yeah, I think it had a very limited release in America. It was from the executive producers of 47 Meters Down, which I really liked.
Yeah,
the
me
first
too.
one of those. So it was interesting that they went back to the old Great Whites. On IMDb, it got a massive score. You'd be shocked to actually hear this, but it got a 4.1 out of 10. Rotten Tomatoes has given it 43% rotten.
On Letterboxd, it's 1.6.
Oh, wow.
High hopes. Low expectations.
So it stars one chick from 30 Rock and a whole bunch of people from Neighbours.
From 30 Rock.
So Katrina Bowden, Kaz, the main lady, she was on 30 Rock.
Oh,
She was the sort of like blonde bimbo girl. The other blonde bimbo girl. Not.
Oh, yeah. I know. Yeah.
What's her name? Anyway.
From Ally
Yeah.
Not Jane Kukowski.
Yeah, no, not her. The
Maybe
other.
the movie would have been better with her. But anyway. Bit of extra
Oh, that
song,
would have been
bit
hilarious.
of a leg number with the dancing.
Yeah, just a really dramatic song about the Great White.
Oh, turn it into a musical, Great White musical, and she's like
Yeah.
sculling, like treading water. The camera's on, see her doing a leg dance, swimming,
Wow.
or singing about the shark, or to the
I
shark.
would have loved that movie.
That's a bit like some weird Kimmy Schmidt type spin-off, but maybe one day we'll get that.
The two guys, the two main guys, were both from Neighbours. Tim Kano was actually in Neighbours for quite some time. And Kimi Tuskankoshi, who played Michelle, she is fairly unknown. I'm not really sure what she's done.
Okay, because she to me looks familiar. I hadn't seen any of these actors before. She looked familiar, but it's interesting that you mentioned Neighbours because I was actually getting very Home and Away type feels watching this.
Yeah, it was very, very Home and Away. But yeah, it was so that obviously we've all seen it. It's your run-of-the-mill shark movie. Starts out with couple being interrupted on their honeymoon or whatever it was and getting killed. Cut to the American and Australian couple who's trying to keep their business afloat and get a last-minute job to do a charter out to a private beach where one of the ladies wants to scatter her grandfather's ashes in this special little beautiful cove. But then they find the dead body of the couple, and then a shark chews up the plane, and all of a sudden they're floating on a raft trying to escape two sharks. That pretty much sums it up, I think.
Pretty much.
So are you normally a fan of shark movies? I hope so, because we've got 3 films to get through.
2 more coming up.
I am, actually, and I think there's been quite a few. Like, I liked 47 Meters Down. The sequel was not great, but it wasn't bad. I really liked The Shallows. I thought The Shallows was pretty good. Like, I think
was very good.
Pretty decent shark movies. I even went back and watched a couple of months ago. I watched Bait, the Australian one.
Oh yeah, a friend of mine was telling me about that.
Yeah, and I was like, it looked like rubbish, so I never actually got around to watching it. And then I'm like, I'll just watch it as rubbish, and it was loads of fun. I actually really liked it. So yeah, I was open to the idea of a fun shark movie.
How about you, Nathan? Are you normally like a creature horror film fan?
Yeah, I think I mentioned before, I'm not really into supernatural type horror. That doesn't scare me, but the idea of sharks does.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So like being out in the sea, I was actually at the beach just like the other week, and it was like sort of getting dark, and I was like in the evening, it's like, all right, you got to get out of the water before it gets sharky.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was seeing like shadows in the water, and they were like just crabs going around everywhere, and it's like, oh, no, that stuff freaks me out.
And like sharks and crocodiles, they're like a universal fear, aren't they? Really, like most people are afraid of them.
Yeah.
I was actually at the beach on the weekend, and there was a shark sighting on the Saturday and the Sunday, and we had signs everywhere that said extreme danger, shark sighting. So yeah, that did freak me out a bit. I've got to admit, I did go in the water, but I constantly had sort of one eye looking one way, one eye looking the other way, trying to catch that shark, sighting of the shark. It's one of those things that's always sort of had a morbid fascination. Is that the right word? Morbid fascination? Because it's like I'm really, really scared of sharks. Like some people are scared of snakes, some spiders. For me, it's sharks. But I think that's why I'm drawn to these films.
You're absolutely drawn to what you're afraid of.
Yeah.
People are. Like there is some sort of, fascination. You're correct.
It's almost like a car crash in that you don't really want to see what's going on, but at the same time, it's like, oh, what's happening there?
Yeah, so I was actually looking forward to seeing this. I saw on Amazon Prime they had this quite heavily advertised, maybe because it's coming into our summer. There was like a banner that kept going through every time I logged into Prime saying that this movie was out, and I hadn't heard of it before.
No, I hadn't either.
Give it a
Not
go.
until you guys mentioned it for this review.
So we're going to go in a little bit differently this time. We're going to be still talking about our best bits, but this time we're going to be ranking our best bits. So we're going to be ranking our best moments in top 1 to 3. So let's go through and discuss what is our third best bit. So Nathan, did you want to start? What did you have as your third best bit?
The best or is third the least best?
Third is the least best.
Ooh, okay. I hadn't really made an order for them, so let me just pick this. That would be my third place bronze winning top 3 moment. Would be Michelle's scream in the life raft as the shark breaks up through the surface of the water and knocks Kat from the raft. Michelle was like an Oscar-worthy. It was a very good final girl scream.
So it was the scream that got you the bronze, was it?
Yeah. So it wasn't, that.
Yeah, because I kind of had issue with that.
Power of the scream. Sorry?
I kind of had issue with that because many issues with that because she was how did she see the shark just like pop out? Like it's like she was screaming before it had even left the water, and then it was like
maybe, but it's a horror movie. It needs to have at least one really good scream. So
like I'm not going to argue with you there. I think she did a great scream.
We all need one of those. Every horror movie's got to have
Push it
one.
back into it.
She really did that well.
No, I don't remember it, but I'll take your word for it.
It was, and it just seemed like it was a weird angle, like the shark and the way it was composited with her. Like it looked very odd, like it coming out of the water in comparison to where the raft was. It didn't seem that believable to me.
No, that's fine. I would agree with that, but it's a top 3 moment, not because of the shark or anything, just for the scream itself.
I love the recreation. That's awesome.
Well done, Michelle.
My favorite, Matt recreating the screen.
See, what was your third best moment?
I struggled. So this is going to be really lame, and I'm not sure if it's even, I don't know. But at the end when she was drowning and the other chick showed up and gave her mouth to mouth.
Yeah.
So that was, it's a little on the nose to have like some sort of sexy moment because that's how they filmed it in a way.
Yeah.
But still, I still liked that they had that in there because people do save other people that way.
True. My issue with that bit.
I've got so many issues with all of this.
With that bit is if she's passed out underwater, surely she would have breathed in a whole bunch of water.
Absolutely.
Not just stopped breathing and gone to sleep.
Yes.
So it's all so you can't just like suddenly blow water into someone's lungs.
No, you cannot.
For a long time as well. Like it's like, and then she stayed around. It's like you gave her all of your oxygen, but you're still there. And how did you get there? Now that you're trying to get out, but like
you still got energy to keep going.
Yeah.
To technically, she should have taken her out of the water, laid her down, did CPR, got it out of her, because there was no rush because the shark was trapped anyway. So
Yeah.
they could have just gotten out the water, saved
Yeah.
her properly, so she wouldn't get secondary drowning the next day, which is probably what's going to happen.
But they just wanted to have that
Water out her lungs.
kiss resuscitation moment underwater.
Right.
It was pretty to look at.
But that's
Forget
all I can come up
logic.
with.
I love it. So my bronze moment is the couple being attacked by the shark at the beginning. So I thought that set up a really good tone. Well, I thought it was setting up a good tone for the film. You know, you guys have watched movies with me when especially like crocodile or shark movies, and I do tend to get a little excited when I can sense there's a shark coming. So that whole anticipation is what I want from a shark movie, and I thought that moment really set that up really well.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I thought that was a really good opening scene, and I guess we've seen it's more of a newer, well, since Scream, I guess, opening scenes in horror movies that are almost standalone they're really significant moments, and I thought this was a really good one by itself.
Yeah, that's a good point. I thought it was quite standalone.
Yeah, unfortunately, it didn't really follow through for the rest of the movie. But
yeah.
That was my second choice.
So that's a good segue, Sue. Let's go on to number 2.
Yes, well, that was mine.
Okay, so Sue's out.
That was actually a pretty good bit. Even though a lot of the stuff happened off camera, it still had some tension and it did suck you in.
What did you think of him having the sense to actually tell her, "Don't get in the water, I'm getting eaten"? Like he was like getting chomped, and she's like
no,
the hysterical one, like, "No, stay there."
I mean, I kind of feel like, why would you get in the water? Because I would not. I would be.
No.
You're only going to both die. Why would you get in the water?
Well, maybe she wasn't thinking it through very well.
Are you really saving someone that wants to be saved if they're in half?
Yeah, exactly. Nathan, what was your silver moment?
Silver moment would have been towards the end when Kaz was in the shipwreck trying to sort of swim away from the shark, and the shark just kept like coming at her through the hole, and like the thing falling down on top of it, getting wedged in there, but at the same time, like its jaws getting closer and closer to her. That was my number 2 moment. What
did you think of the puppet shark? Like how it's like the bottom jaw was like going right, like
yeah, it was really open.
Yeah.
Did you think the sharks were convincing?
Not especially through most of the movie. It didn't, other than when they had the cutaways to actually real sharks.
Yeah.
Which would be like stock footage stuff. That would look real. All the other bits, no.
No. There was, some very questionable looking sharks.
Yeah. So why that becomes a top 3 moment is not because of the technical way it was done, but just the moment itself, just the idea of a character being stuck underwater.
Yeah.
Being basically cornered by a giant shark coming at them.
Yeah, that was a good moment. My second one was, I'm a big fan of Benny. I thought he was probably the star for me. When Benny gets taken by the shark, that did kind of get spoiled in the trailer. But I thought it was the whole lead up to it, where Kaz had gone in the water we'll touch that later on, but getting in the water, and then that alpha guy was like being an idiot, and then finally someone ends up in the water, and then for him to get killed, I was like, are they going to fake it out again? Is anyone going to get eaten in this movie? So
I was wondering that for a little bit.
So Benny getting taken by the shark was my silver moment, the second spot. Let's go into our number 1 spot. What gets the gold for you, Nathan?
Mine would have been the moment when Kaz gets into the water in the night time to retrieve the paddle that's floating away. Again, it's dark. You can't really see what's under there, but you kind of know what's under there lurking. They really need the paddle. They can't just let it go. So someone's got to get it. I don't know if I would have gotten it that way, but
I Like, I paddle.
I would have like maybe tried to get the boat a little bit closer to
With the
it.
other paddle, they had 2 paddles.
Exactly, and
Like,
paddling with
what
the hands
was
and
the
things.
paddle? It was still water. They
Yeah.
could've-
Exactly. So, but the idea of that moment again, not so much in the execution or why it happened, but just the tenseness of her swimming out. The very everything was all very calm, and it was very sort of suspenseful moment while she's just doing that, and you're just waiting for the shark to get her. They go shots from underneath of her legs, shots from above, and then she gets out.
I've got to agree, like that. I was toying with putting that in to one of my lists because I did find it was very suspenseful, maybe because I thought it was also crazy to be doing that, but it was me yelling at the screen again, and I did actually have to pause it for a moment just to compose myself before I could watch it again because it was a bit much.
Because of the yelling or because it was too traumatic for you?
It was a bit traumatic. It's like, oh my god, she's going to get eaten like she's an idiot.
You're like, pause, I can't handle this. I need to go and get a stiff drink
Yeah,
and come back.
I totally understand that when the tension is too much. Like I had to do that in 47 Meters Down when there were so many scenes in that where I was like, oh, this is a bit too much. It's too much. Yeah.
My husband said to me, he's like, oh, it's finished already. I'm like, no, like I just have to take a break.
I can't do that. I can't pause this tense moment. I've got to live it through because that's why I watch movies.
I thought I was going to have a heart attack.
Not put it on pause halfway.
But like, have you watched Uncut Gems?
No.
Is that a
Because
porno?
that is the 10th film I have ever watched. No, it's got Adam Sandler and it's really good. But everyone I know is like, oh, that end, I had to leave the room. Like it was so tense.
Okay, no spoilers on that. Maybe I will watch it.
Yeah. Interject a non-horror, but yeah.
My number one spot was again a Benny moment. It was when they found the boat and he jumped in, and it was kind of that whole kind of made me think of Jaws with the Ben Gardner's head coming through the boat when he sort of swam into the boat and then saw the chewed up mess of the girl.
Oh yeah, but the effects were really bad on her, weren't they?
Yes.
Yeah,
just like the original Jaws. Like I'm like, oh, they've really gone like very, paid homage. Then I realized, wow, they've paid homage in every aspect.
About 50 cents.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We can recreate that with our $3 and some sticky tape.
Sue, what was your number one spot?
Probably when Joe died, because I thought his death was a bit more prolonged than, you thought he was dead and then he came back up again. I was like, oh, that's pretty horrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that's pretty horrible for his wife to see him and go, oh, we can save him. No, he's not. Yeah.
He was such a shitty character. I hated him.
I did not hate him. I agreed with him.
But in terms, oh really? Okay.
Yes.
But in terms of that moment, I did like that kill because I hated him so much. I get to see him die twice.
Yeah,
it was a good kill. It was.
Yeah, I also liked how the shark, like, it seemed very fluid in its motion, like how you'd expect something to jump out of the water and grab, like, Jaws. It would be like in and then out. Whereas this had like real follow through.
Yeah, true.
So was there any other moments that sort of had an honourable mention that you wanted to include in the list?
I thought the acting was not terrible.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a moment, but as a sort of positive for these kind of films, I thought that the acting was not as bad as I had expected it to be.
Yeah, well, acting wasn't terrible. I didn't find Joe likable, and it took me half of the movie I was trying to figure out if Kaz was meant to be Australian or American.
Oh, really?
Because their accent kind of went in and out.
But she's American.
I just thought she was American and be living in Australia.
And to begin with, it sounded like an American trying to be Australian, but then just seemed to lose that.
Okay.
I'd agree with you, Sue, that I thought that part of it, like the beginning of the film, I had real high hopes. Like I'm like, oh, the first kills are really good. Then I thought the acting was okay, and I thought the backstory that they were building, like with her being pregnant and that they had business issues, like it sort of gave you insight into their characters quite quickly. So I thought the writing at the beginning was very good. There was a few things I was like, oh, like I'm gonna need to suspend disbelief, obviously, with a few things, like who
Yeah.
has their grandfather's ashes and books a flight the next day. Like there was no real explanation why that was done the night before.
I kind of have problems with the dialogue in the very first scene between her and the guy, like where they're sort of in this romantic sort of cabin with all this billowing, you know, and the golden light and stuff. But the way they were talking to each other was not believable. It was like they just kept putting out things that were obvious, like, yes, I've made a booking. Oh, you've made a booking. You know, that kind of thing. I was like,
I know, that seemed really obvious to me. And that was the part, I mean, that's like the second scene in the movie, pretty much, or third.
Yeah.
But that was the one that gave me Home and Away vibes, because it had Home and Away lighting, Home and Away type acting.
Yes.
The way it was shot, like the sex scene going through the fish tank.
Yep, same.
It's like, we don't see anything, so it's, again, very Home and Away.
This feels a little cheap now.
If you're watching from overseas, Home and Away is a soap opera that's quite popular in Australia and the UK, and it's pretty cheesy. It's on the beach.
Cheesy. And like, who interrupts a proposal to answer the phone? Like, really? I think we should get back. Oh, hang on. Just hold that thought. I'm just going to get this phone call.
Yeah.
You take that call.
Should we? So that kind of wraps up the best parts for us.
Yeah.
I take it. Cool. So now let's talk about if it were up to us, or what we're now calling what the fuck moments. WTF. So these are, again, we're going through our top 3 WTF moments of the film. So Nathan, you started us off with the first bronze moment. So did you want to go through what your number 3 WTF moment is?
Okay. Yes. Number 3 would basically be that entire scene on the beach when they find the body. Like, first of all, when she finds the body that happens to have a phone with it, like, as if
it hasn't been washed away or anything. It was in the pocket.
Body. She was like,
it was in the pocket, and it's still functional.
Yeah, exactly. And like a decomposing thumb that's all swollen and bloated is going to work to open it.
I thought about that.
You can't. The iPhones won't actually unlock if your finger is detached. That actually registers. I think it's like either warmth or like blood movement.
Really? Well, he would not have had that.
So he would not have had that. Like
why you would want to open the phone in the first place? Like,
I was just trying to find. I can see logic there. I mean, surprised more that the phone was working, but I was also thinking, it's like, all right, fine, they got it working and unlocked. But what happens when it locks again after a few minutes and they've taken it away?
Well, yeah, and also it's a like, they've called the police. The police aren't going to say, don't worry about waiting. Just go off and try and find that other chick. Like, how unreasonable and silly. You would have to wait with the body that you found.
Yeah.
You couldn't just bugger off. And why would you take people who just hired you as a charter thing off on some crazy adventure to find a, like they paid you to take them home?
No, but the issue there was they were like, no, we've got to try and save this person. Saving a life takes priority over your joyride.
No, it doesn't. Because
you don't think?
They have.
That's why you agree with Joe, because to me he's a douche. He's like, no, it's my money. You take me home.
Not just the money.
Probably his delivery.
They're just average people. They're not skilled in this. You're taking them into danger. Like, you have a responsibility to those people.
True, but they were just thinking they were going on an airplane, circling, looking for a boat, not necessarily.
And then what were they going to do if they found it?
And that's the thing that
makes sense. I can understand wanting to get them into that situation, but how they did it didn't make any sense in the real world.
But the thing, they jumped to the conclusion that on his phone there's a picture of a woman, so they jumped to the conclusion that he was on a boat and now she's gone off on the boat and now she's in trouble. Like, I didn't know, like, how did you get to that conclusion? Like, that the boat had sunk. I don't even know how the boat had sunk. Don't get me started on that. But it's like, she could just be like, had gone off to get help as well. Like, why are you doing this?
Exactly. Or the photo of them both on the boat could have been taken a while back.
Ages ago. Yeah,
you could have got eaten anywhere, like miles away.
They should have found a better way to find them in this situation.
Yeah,
I didn't like any of that. And I was like, if that was me, I'd be pretty pissed off at being dragged along. And now you're risking my life, and like, send me home and then go if that's what you want to do. But you probably should stay with the body anyway.
Yeah. That's the point where I mentioned before. Like, I'm like, oh, to enjoy this, I'm going to have to suspend disbelief because none of this is making any sense.
So silly. But yeah, that would be mine.
Nathan, what's your third moment? That's WTF.
Mine would be all the Titanic references.
Ooh.
Like, yeah. So I think maybe the cinematographer or someone like that had a big moment for Titanic. Especially when the charter couple, they get out of the car at the beginning with Michelle. She's got a wide brim hat. Camera pans down from above, and then she will look like Rose style. That very Titanic, like a low budget Australian version.
That's awesome.
Joe. He had a lot of similarities with Billy Zane's character in Titanic to begin with, in that he was the sort of the douchey boyfriend who was like just flashing money around and trying to run the show. All right, maybe that's about it. But those two bits did seem very obvious Titanic to me.
It's clearly a Titanic ripoff.
It is. And then there was a raft. Lots of water.
Yeah, absolutely. Just like it.
I missed that, Nathan, but now that you've pointed that out, I'm beginning to see the same thing.
I didn't see it, but now that you're saying it, yeah. Why not?
My third WTF moment is that they can clearly see underwater. This bothers me. So many films do this, but like that whole ending scene where they were in this murky water, keeping an eye on two great white sharks, and they can clearly see one of them coming to shoot it in the mouth. Like, I'm like...
Yeah.
Without goggles, true. Like, how can you see like anything? Like, if you put your head underwater, you may be able to see like close, but you wouldn't be able to see a great white shark like lurking in the sea. So that really, really annoyed me. That so much was happening in this clear water that they can clearly see. I'm like, no, that would not happen.
Yeah,
true.
So, should we go to our second spot? Did you tell you gave us yours, didn't you, Sue?
Yeah. That whole...
Oh, that's right. The best bit. Yeah.
Okay. it was a bit.
Nathan, what's your silver spot in number 2?
Silver one would be just the idea of like, right, earlier on the shark attacks the plane. But that's not my number 2 spot. The number 2 spot is, all right, the shark has no trouble attacking a plane, and I'm assuming attacking the boat to begin with at the beginning of the movie, which makes it sink. Why doesn't the shark attack the lifeboat?
Yeah,
Nathan, think that's a much smaller target, an easier target.
We have the same.
When it's got tasty humans up there,
right? Yes, this is true.
We've got the same one. Like, that's mine as well. Like, I just didn't understand like this whole thing that it's eaten a boat, like it somehow sunk that woman's boat. Now it's eaten a plane, like metal, but they're sitting on this little plastic thing. Like, there's two of them doing
the air. It's basically a balloon,
and they're hanging over the side the whole time.
Yes, they are. That was so
and stirring up the water, like patting it and paddling and all that sort of stuff, and talking. And there's not only one shark, but 2 sharks. They couldn't communicate and say, "Hey, how about one of us taste this?"
Yeah.
Exactly. One little tooth in there, and it would just go.
It was that was so frustrating. Like, didn't make any sense. Like, I kept thinking to myself, maybe I think I remember in Jaws they said that sharks were attracted to the metallic vibrations or whatever from certain things, and I'm like, maybe that's why the sharks didn't attack, but they didn't explain it. It's like anyone watching this movie is gonna jump to this like annoyance. Like, it's like they're in a plastic balloon, like on the ocean, like when huge objects have been eaten. Like, this makes no sense.
And near the end, it was almost flat. Like, it was very little between them and the water.
Yeah.
And still the sharks, no, they just enjoyed taunting them. Maybe it's the extra fear in their bodies makes them extra tasty.
You know, at the end when they're on that thing and it's almost deflated and they see the island and they're like, we're going to make it. And then the shark goes by and then they go, oh, we're not going to make it. We're not gonna make it.
Yeah.
That's so funny. Like literally the very next line. It was funny.
So what was your second
two?
WTF?
When I don't remember the main guy's name because I just didn't really care.
Charlie.
Charlie, when he's like, bigging himself up about this guy that knows so much and he's a marine biologist and yada, yada, yada. And then he gets in the water with the flare and the shark is like right in front of him and he misses. I'm like, really? Come on, man. He's directly in front of you. That was pretty stupid.
He needed to be wearing goggles. He would, if he had goggles on.
He was distracted by the flare. Like,
Yeah.
Oh, no, I'm in. Yeah. I don't know. But yeah, that seems quite ridiculous to me. He's their great hope and then he gets in and he lasts 2 seconds.
Yeah. Let's go on to our gold-winning WTF. The number one for me is one of Nathan's favourite moments, which was Kaz getting into the water to retrieve the oar. Like I said,
so one of my favourite moments
like,
is your number one least favourite moment. Or what the fuck?
not so much my least favourite, but like what the actual no one would do that. Like in their right minds, if you see a giant shark in the middle of the ocean, like get into the water like that.
Come up with there were other ways.
There were other ways. Like this was not like the last thing you needed to do. Like, yeah, it was total WTF.
It was clearly done just to have a movie moment to build suspense, and it was a suspenseful moment. But story-wise, it didn't make sense.
No. Sue, how about you? What was your number one?
I mean, I probably should have had the one that I talked about the most at number 3 should have been my number one, probably, because obviously that one pissed me off the most, but I didn't realize until I was talking about it. But now I would say when Joe murdered Benny, just really for no reason. Like it was actual
just pushed him off, basically. Just
water. It was like, why would you just suddenly? I didn't.
No, but again, that's my point. Joe was not a good person. He was a bit of a shitty person. He had a few moments.
From I'm a bit of a shitty person to I'm a murderer. Like that's a whole different jump. Like I'm. No,
but did he intend to murder him?
Yes.
Or did he just like, you reckon? Or he was just like, oh, just fuck off and like shoved him. And then...
Your Honor, I don't think it was murder. I think it was manslaughter. I think it was a moment of rage that probably he wasn't thinking. I don't think it was premeditated murder that he...
Oh, I don't think it was premeditated. This is
well, there you go.
He knew pushing him in what was going to happen. I don't believe...
Technicality.
Punched him and then he tripped.
I rest my case.
Maybe, but he didn't trip. He deliberately pushed him in.
Yeah.
Different.
So does that make Benny the Jack character in your analogy, Nathan?
Well, no, because Jack made it to the end and he pretty much sacrificed himself.
Did he make it to the end?
Well, to the end of the movie, mostly. He sacrificed himself. He wasn't pushed in. Oh, hang on. Rose.
No, Rose pushed him in.
There was room on that door for 2.
There was not room, actually. It's been scientifically proven that there was not room. True, it's on the internet. They've actually done science experiments and stuff.
I love how this has turned into a debate about the Titanic. A much more interesting film than this one. Nathan, what was your number one moment?
Number one moment, which I hinted at before, was actually, I mean, in general, the dodgy shark CG. So all the computer-generated sharks. But the number one would have been that bit where he jumps out and attacks the plane. It's like, I'm watching that. The opening scene, all very believable and suspenseful. And I'm thinking, okay, this is going to be a realistic movie. Up until that point, it's like, what? We've got sharks attacking planes now.
Yeah.
It's like, what next? They're like, Sharknado? No.
Yeah. Yeah, it was, that was not good.
That's the bit where it jumped the shark for me.
And there's so many honourable mentions for WTF. Like, we could be here all night.
Yeah, pretty much the whole movie was, oh, really? Oh, come on. Like pretty much the whole film.
I thought the writing was quite problematic in the way that it represented women, and like both women at the beginning were kind of badly written.
Yes.
That is it, Kaz? Like someone threw up in the plane, and then she's like having this huge hissy fit. Like, and then the other one being very submissive, and I don't know, and
complete caricatures of someone's idea of what women are rather
Yeah.
than actually.
Or was that just so that way they could have the journey and become the final girls instead of being the victims?
No, I wouldn't give them that much.
Nah.
To be honest, I just think they were not particularly good writers.
No.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. There was a lot wrong with this.
The Meg was really bad, but at least it had Ruby Rose. I mean, it was bad, but this was a whole nother level.
I felt like Meg had kind of played into the whole B grade creature feature, whereas
yes.
I feel like this was trying to take itself too seriously, and it did turn out like a very special episode of Home and Away.
Yeah. It wasn't really well thought out.
No. Do you think they thought they were doing something good?
Yes.
Well, that's what I was. Yeah, I think so, because it's like, surely someone doesn't invest a lot of money like that thinking we're going to make a shit movie, unless you're making it deliberately shit. I don't think they did. I think they would have thought we were making something good and probably would have really believed in it, but they just didn't translate well, or they didn't have a good plan to begin with.
Oh, that's a bit sad.
Yeah.
It is, yeah.
Like, I do feel sad when, like, you think people have put their money into it and people invested their time and effort, and it is hard to make films, as we all know, and for it to turn out shit. But I mean, it was shit.
I also think
I was looking at like the credits at the end and like seeing like all the funding bodies and that.
Yeah.
Sort of thing. So it's like, yeah, so clearly people invested in this wanting to make money out of it, because they probably thought it's going to be the new Jaws. It's low budget and it's Australian. And it probably had potential, but it just wasn't really well executed.
Because Australia does make good horrors. I think it's one of our strengths, to be honest. But yeah, that would not be on my list of best Aussie horrors.
I think the problem with that's running into these spout of shark movies is that they're all kind of the same formula. That they get on a boat, they're trapped, and then they get terrorized by a shark, or they're stuck somewhere and then they get terrorized by a shark. Jaws was about a community, and it was like trying to get rid of the shark, but they weren't trapped until the very end. Like, it was a lot more complex in the film, which we'll discuss in a few weeks' time. But I feel like these type of movies are really sort of backing themselves into a corner with their storytelling.
Sorry, go on, Nathan.
No, I was going to say, that said, Jaws was pretty much groundbreaking, and it was the first of its kind. Once it's done all that, really, for a traditional, like someone being terrorized by a shark in the water, there's only so many different ways you can do that and keep it original, unless you start doing genetically modified sharks, which they've done.
Most have a gimmick.
Yeah.
This doesn't have a gimmick. But I understand what you're saying, because I feel the same way about like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre remakes, where I feel like they focus on one aspect of that film and what made it good, and made that the entire film, rather than look at all the different ingredients that made it good. It wasn't just the horror. It wasn't just so I understand what you're saying. It's like they took a small aspect of Jaws and went, we'll make a shark movie. It'll be just like Jaws, but they miss all the other parts of it, all the nuance.
Yeah.
Interesting. Should we talk about our final thoughts?
Sure.
Okay, so Nathan, did you want to go first with your final thoughts?
Yeah, sure. Look, I do like to support Aussie films. I know a lot of people hate Australian movies, but I like to give them a go, and I like to support them. And every time I watch one, I'm actually hoping it's going to be really good, like some sort of gem of a movie waiting to be discovered. And look, while the movie's flawed, definitely flawed, I did enjoy it. But it wasn't original enough or well done enough for it to be memorable or something I could recommend to anyone. So not memorable, not recommendable. I didn't love it. I didn't hate it. It's just meh.
So do you give it a pash or a trash?
Well, for Pash, I gotta love it. I didn't love it, so I guess the other option is trash. In that it's a kind of a waste of time. I wouldn't do it again. So trash. Trash. There you go. Trash. So
You got it.
Sue, how about you?
Well, I really didn't like it at all. Like, unlike Nathan, who was not sure how he felt, I didn't like it. I found it really boring. And I was drifting away and then going, oh, it's still going. And I also really found it forgettable. I totally forgot
Yeah.
about half of the things until you guys were talking. I was like, oh yeah, that's right, because it's gone. Like most of it is gone if I hadn't written notes. I thought it was, badly written. Cinematography wasn't bad. I didn't mind some of the shots, but yeah, it was not. I would never watch it again.
There you go. So we're on the
Trash?
Trash.
Okay, so yeah, for me, normally any shark movie is going to be a pash for me. Like, I'll normally watch any shark movie, but for me, I kind of am on the same page with you guys as well. I had a lot of high hopes, like you said, Nathan, that this is an Australian movie. It is beautifully shot, and I did, give it probably more chances than I would have if this was like an American film. I'm sad to say. Got to have that home pride. I did think the acting was quite good. So I thought this is going to be great. But even for me, this wasn't a great movie. There are so many other half decent movies that I'd much rather watch. I too didn't think Meg was that great, but I think I'd rather watch Meg than this movie again.
Yeah.
Really wouldn't recommend anyone watch this. So yeah, for me, it is also a trash.
Triple trash.
A triple trash. Is this our first triple trash?
Might be.
No, I don't think it is. But I can't remember what is.
Well, it wasn't memorable anyway.
Maybe it is. I don't know. That could be correct. Oh no, didn't we all say Freddy 2?
Oh yeah, we did.
We all said Freddy 2 was trash.
Yeah, true. So that is our first of the Great White or the Shark box set. Great White was trash. Hopefully this is not the sign of things to come. I thought I liked shark movies, but we'll see. So next one to come up is Open Water on the 17th of February. So make sure you watch that before then so you can watch along with us live. So we go live every other Thursday. We'd love to chat along live with you as well. So log into the chat and talk to us. Of course, if you watch it after the fact, you can also leave us comments below and we'll respond to those. So make sure you like, subscribe, and follow. You can follow us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. So until next time, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much, Sue and Nathan, for joining us. And we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.